know why I was looking for Moebius. I was looking for artwork in France, in Europe, and did some Googling and found a auction house called Art Curial. And remember looking at it, and they had an auction coming up, and there was 2 Moebius pieces. One was a page from Incal, and one was one of the magic crystals, one from the Crystal Saga. And I looked at this, and I bought. It was an auction I found the auction catalog on eBay. That's what happened, and ordered it, and it came a couple of days later. And when looking through the auction catalog, I realized that the auction was actually in a week's time, or maybe it was even 5 days' time. So I just thought, I've got to go to Paris and go to this auction house. I'm going to bid on these pieces. And that's what I did. And just got a ticket, got the Eurostar, went to Paris. This must have been about 2007, I guess, 6 maybe even 5. And went to the auction. It's the first time I'd ever been to an auction for comic art anyway. And remember just being full of excitement, and I bid on these 2 pieces and won them both in the auction. And I was so pleased. And that was the first 2 pieces of Moebius art that I got. And then I just became obsessed by his work. The line work, the attention to detail, the just superb draftsmanship that went into making that he put into making his art, that was so effortless, you could see. And so I started collecting his work and would regularly go to all the auctions. And in fact, after 4 or 5 of them, I became known as the Moebius Guy from London, who would turn up and just sort of bid, anything to get this artwork. And I realized that I loved his artwork generally, but Incal as a book specifically. And so whenever pages of Incal came up, I would always bid on them. And in the process of doing that, managed to raise the prices of all Moebius Incal pages in the market by almost double. I mean, they used to go for about, I think when I started, they were about, a decent page would be 7,000 or 8,000 euros. And by the time within a couple of years, I'd managed to get them to about 20,000, 15 to 20,000 euros. So almost, almost 3 times. And I managed to amass quite a large collection of Moebius artwork. In the process, I got to about 30 pages of Incal at one point, which I don't have all of them now, obviously, but and that was more than 10%. That's actually more than 10% of the whole book, which is about 274 pages or something. And so I had a deep connection with his work. There was just everything that I loved about it. So as well as the artwork, I went about buying every single book that Moebius had drawn or had been featured in. So there's lots of art books that collect Moebius's sketches and drawings and paintings and what have you. And I have virtually all of them. I think I actually have all of them. And I have multiples of them. So I'd be going on eBay and I'd find a book that I already had, but if it had a drawing in it or a sketch in it, then, I'd buy that as well. So there's, Star Watcher is one famous compilation book of Moebius art. I think I've got about 4 or 5 copies of that, all of them, apart from the first one, with drawings in them. By about 2009, I had a pretty decent collection, and decided that maybe the best thing to do would be to go directly to the source and buy artwork from him himself if I could possibly get in touch with him. And as it turns out, Jean and his wife Isabel had a shop in Paris, and you could go to it. And it wouldn't be open most days, but they would open it specially if a collector would come to town. And through some other dealers, I found out where it was and how to get in touch with them. And I went to Paris just to meet them. Found the shop, tiny little shop, go in, and Jean's there with Isabel. And I spent the most amazing hour, maybe 2 hours, with Jean, just talking to him about his work and listening to these incredible stories of how he worked with Jodorowsky, how they created the Incal, how the Incal book came to be, because obviously they'd both worked together on the aborted June, the aborted June project that Jodorowsky was trying to get made. I had all the stories about that. I think Jean told me the story about The Eyes of the Cat, the book, which is one of my favorite books by him. And I was asking if he had any pages left from that book. And he told me the story about how, I think it was Jean-Michel Charlier had managed to, the publisher at the time of the book for Humanoids, I think it was whoever was working for Humanoids, had the whole book, all the pages of Eyes of the Cat in a portfolio, and he left it in a taxi and got out of the taxi, and the taxi drove off, and it's gone, never to be seen again. Probably, 1 to 2 million euros worth of art disappeared, never to see the light of day. So I remember him telling me that story, and I just spent the most amazing, magical, unforgettable couple of hours with him. In the end, I didn't actually, no, maybe I did buy one piece from them from the shop, but they were mostly selling new pieces, and I was really looking for some historical pieces.